Tennessee football fans, I do not have to tell you how big this weekend's game is going to be. You got the Georgia Bulldogs in town. You got College game day in town. And you also see that 3.5-point line has trickled down 4 points. It was 7.5 just a week ago. Things might be leaning in Tennessee's favor. My name is Joey Petersen. You're watching Tennessee Football Talk. And the reason we start off talking about that game is because Insider Pete Thamel, he gave a pretty big injury update that affects the game against Georgia on Saturday. Okay, we're going to get into what that is. We'll talk about the players he's talking about, and we'll get into what that impact might be on Saturday's game for the rest of today's show. But before that, I just want to say I appreciate you guys being here. And if you're here for the first time or the second time and you haven't joined us yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I know we're playing Georgia this weekend, but we don't have a Georgia channel here at Chat Sports. We do have an Alabama football channel, and for some reason, that host, he believes that they're back on the winning streak, even though they just beat only University of Louisiana Monroe. I don't know. I don't get it. Bama sucks. Tennessee rocks. And if you agree with me and you want to bury them in this sub battle, you got to do me one big favor. Hit that subscribe button. We're down 13 subscribers. There's some room to be caught up. I need you guys to help me out and subscribe to the channel. So Pete Thamel tweeted this out earlier today. Sources: Tennessee will again be without its two starting corners against Georgia this week, as both Jermod McCoy and Rickey Gibson are not expected to be back. McCoy is still recovering from his ACL tear in January, and Gibson, undisclosed, is out for an extended period of time. And the unfortunate part about this thing is, this isn't too shocking. It's a massive update because now it is officially official. I think we all knew that Rickey Gibson was probably out of it, but I think in the back of our minds, we all were praying on a star, hoping for a miracle, that somehow, some way, maybe Jermod McCoy would be able to be back and be fully healthy, and unfortunately, that's just not the case. We all know what happened to him back in January, 15th to be exact, this year, tore his ACL doing some conditioning drills, and he's made good progress to return, but I think Coach Heupel, this training staff, this university, I think they're making the right decision on just holding him out just a little bit longer. Because this guy's got a really bright future. He's the 12th best prospect going into the 2026 NFL draft if you look at some big boards. And they don't want to jeopardize that. And they don't want to jeopardize his health for the rest of the season just to rush him back. Now, he has been on the practice field. This was taken a couple of weeks ago. He's been taking reps more and more each week, but that doesn't mean he's going to be ready to go against Georgia, right? And that just kind of is the unlucky straw that you drew when you got the Georgia Bulldogs this early. If it was any other year and you played Georgia later in the year, I guarantee you Jermod McCoy would be ready to go. And when you look over the next couple of games, I don't think they should necessarily be in any rush to get him back as quickly as they can. Obviously, he's not going to be back for week 3 against Georgia. Don't rush him back for week 4 against UAB. I'm looking at week 7. Not because I think Mississippi State's going to be a cakewalk. They just proved this last Saturday as they beat Arizona State. That's not going to be an easy game. But you have the bye week right after Mississippi State. So I think you take advantage of that. You sit him the next 4 weeks, and then week 7 against Arkansas. If he's going to make a comeback in this season, I think that's when it's going to happen. You tell me, what week do you think McCoy returns? I think it's going to be week 7. You might think it's going to be something different, maybe a little bit later. Maybe you're more optimistic than I am. Maybe you think it's going to be earlier. You just let me know in the comment section down below. Now, talking about Rickey Gibson, I hated it, but we knew he was going to be a long shot for a long time because Josh Heupel spoke to the media last Monday on Labor Day and said that he was going to be out for an extended period. And if you know anything about Josh Heupel, you know he doesn't really go too in-depth on the injury report. He doesn't go too in-depth on the health of the players. Likes to keep that close to the vest because I think that's probably a smart thing to do if you're a head football coach. But that doesn't mean it's easy to take, and it doesn't mean it's the best thing for this team. What it does mean, though, is that Colton Hood and Ty Redmond are going to have to continue to step up. Because you've seen that the last 2 weeks. They looked great against Syracuse. They looked phenomenal against ETSU. But Georgia's a whole different beast. It is a whole different animal. One of the best teams in the country, okay? And you're going to have to be the CB1 and the CB2. Neither of these guys came to Tennessee when they did thinking that that was going to be their role in year 1 with this university. We all know Colton Hood came in from Colorado, transferred in over to the offseason. Before that, he was at Auburn. The first two games this year, 75.4 and a 77.5 PFF grade. He was a top 5 defensively graded Tennessee Volunteer in both of those games. You know who else was? Ty Redmond with a 75.6 and a 78.3 PFF grade so far in 2025. In my opinion, Ty Redmond has been the biggest and most delightful surprise of this season so far. And how amazing would that be if he continues that against Georgia this next weekend? He's a 3-star recruit. The 50th best cornerback in the class, was barely top 50 in his own position. And he's already going to be out there starting. We know he got a ton of reps over the last 2 games. Even when Rickey Gibson was in the lineup week 1 against Syracuse, Ty Redmond played a ton. And it's obvious to see why. Because he was out there making plays. And more importantly, for a freshman, a true freshman, he was not making a ton of mistakes. I've been so impressed with both of these guys. I think I had a little bit higher expectations for Colton Hood, but I still don't think I had the expectations of how big he's playing right now. And how awesome it is that both those guys are playing that way with both Rickey and Jermod being out. And it just makes me think that eventually when both those guys get back, whether that is week 7 against Arkansas or whether it's later in the season, that this secondary is going to be something very, very special at the end of this year. Now, talking about Saturday and talking about this secondary, I want to keep an eye out for Zachariah Branch. Because I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you Zachariah Branch didn't scare me a little bit. I don't like a lot about Georgia. I don't like really anything about Georgia. The funny thing is, though, my wife is from Georgia, and she hates Georgia even more than I do. That's why I love her so much. But I can sit here and admit to you, as a consumer of football, an analyst, Zachariah Branch is a star. The good thing is, the guy throwing him the football doesn't scare me one bit. In fact, he doesn't scare me enough that I just flat out tweeted today, I'll say it, Gunnar Stockton sucks. Now, I know that isn't the best analysis. I know that's not what you came here to hear. Maybe it is. I'm glad I gave it for you. But Gunnar Stockton and his ability to throw the football, to play the quarterback position, it doesn't scare me. And I get Stetson Bennett had his detractors, but Stetson Bennett throws a football a whole lot better than Gunnar Stockton. Vol Nation, do you guys want me to go live this weekend against Saturday? I'm still trying to convince the bosses to do it. If you do, I want to know which ones of you guys want it to happen. Type me in the comment section down below and then like the video to make sure that I know you guys want us live for Tennessee versus Georgia. While you're down there in the comment section, you can go ahead and click on this link, chatsports.com/UTQZip. Okay? Chatsports.com/UTQZip. Gage, you can go ahead and push this over. You can get this quarter zip for only $38. It was $50. Now it's down to $38. And you're not going to get that deal for much longer. Because guess what? I get it. It's September in Knoxville. Things can still be warm from time to time. Trust me. We're here in Dallas. Things are warm here. But by the time you're going to want this quarter zip in Neyland for those October night games where it's got that perfect chill in the air, the leaves are changing, it's football weather, it's not going to be $38 anymore. I can just tell you that, okay? Chatsports.com/UTQZip. I put that in the comments and description of today's video. So head over there right now. Take advantage of this offer while you still can. Josh Heupel spoke to the media today. I got a couple of takeaways before we get on out of here, 4 to be exact. Speaking of the injuries, he wouldn't answer any injury questions. We really got all the information we needed from Pete Thamel this morning. I think a lot of people want to hear about David Sanders as well. But he said, as he usually does, I'm going to refer to the injury report that comes out on Wednesday. Another thing he said, talked a lot about, was one Joey Aguilar. And we talked a lot of Joey Aguilar on this channel. I'm a big Joey fan. The fireman himself is one of my favorite players this season. But we talked a lot of his ability as a quarterback. What I loved what Heupel talked about is his ability to be a teammate, right? He said Joey Aguilar has been a great teammate since he got here. Certainly a guy who cares about the guys around him, cheering on the other quarterbacks and the guys around them, speaks to the type of guy that he is, which is impressive because we all know he came in and was immediately thrown into a quarterback battle, and yet he's still able to rise above all that. He's still able to be a good guy, be a good teammate, and most importantly, be a good leader, which is the most important thing at that quarterback position, okay? Say what you want about Nico's skill. You could think he's the best quarterback in the world. You could think he's the worst quarterback in the world. He wasn't a good enough leader for this squad. Plain and simple, Joey Aguilar seems that he is. Lance Hurd, he's absolutely stepping up. I didn't need Josh Heupel to tell me that, although I'm happy that he did today, because we've seen it over these past couple of games, and we knew going into this year, if Lance Hurd played the same inconsistent football he played last year, it was going to be a long season for Tennessee. The good news is, so far through 2 weeks, he's not been very inconsistent. He's been very consistent. Lance Hurd has grown a bunch, Josh Heupel said, since he's been here. Dealt with some adversity last year, injuries, and played through a lot of it, but he's grown as a leader, and I'm excited about the steps he's taken. He's on a very young offensive line, a very interesting offensive line. Obviously, you got David Sanders out there. You got Jesse Perry. Those are some younger guys. You got a couple of transfers in, and he's taken it upon himself to say, hey, look, I know this is only my second year in Tennessee, but like I've kind of been here the longest out of anybody, and I have the most experience out of anybody. This is my offensive line group. He knew the ways he needed to step up, and he's done that so far. Those are my first 3 takeaways. My final takeaway is this. Josh Heupel really emphasized ball security against Georgia, which I think is really, really important. If you look back at the last couple of losses you've had against the Bulldogs, part of your reason has been because you've turned the ball over. He said ball security will be important in this one. You've got to maximize your opportunity. That comes with the guy who has the ball in his hands. It's the QB being decisive and reading things the right way. It's protecting him too. Look, we've talked a lot about Joey Aguilar and his turnovers over the last, couple of months? Ever since he transferred, I guess not a couple of months. We've only been a channel for about a month and a half, but you guys get what I'm saying. Ever since he transferred in, that was the big question. Can Joey Aguilar overcome his turnover problem? So far through 2 weeks, it seems like he has. Now, he hasn't faced a Kirby Smart defense ever in his life. So that's going to be a challenge for him. But I've got a feeling the way he runs this offense is going to continue to impress me. That's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you get me on Twitter. Make sure you got me on Instagram as well. Mainly Twitter. I tweet about the Vols every single day. I put that link in the comment section and description of today's video. And if you're not subscribed yet, change that right now by hitting that sub button.